Hi guys, it's time again for another Remains of the Day, which is basically just me talking to myself in front of a camera every week about three things that I thought were sort of kind of interesting about the week because, that's what makes life interesting, just things to talk about. And uh it's been a bit quiet for a week, I would say, but there's been a lot going on in the background, and it's never been a it's never been that clear cut. Anyway, let's get down to it. The first thing I want to talk about over the week is specifically carbon, because carbon recently has been making strides in a bunch of different ways in science, and I just wanted to know, did you know that how useful carbon is? The thing that you breathe out, carbon dioxide, has a little bit of that, but more importantly, carbon itself can be used for so many different things. Diamonds are made out of carbon. There are people trying to make electric circuitry, a very very tiny electric circuitry using carbon, and that's always a bit fun to learn more about because carbon has so many different uses. It's one of the hardest things that you can come up with in a molecular scale. It's just exciting to see all these amazing things that they're probably going to come up with by the time I'm dead. But you should note that things like those are the kind of things that not your forebearers, the people who are going to come after you are probably going to use on their daily lives. It's like how we have these cell phones, and sometime in the future they're gonna have, like, I don't know, carbon watches that like tell you when you should have your meeting or something, or some other stuff like that. And that's exciting to me. That's all I wanted to say really about carbon. It's there's been some new things in science, but there's always something new in science. It's just that carbon specifically stuck out to my mind this week. And that's a nice thing. That's a very nice thing indeed. The second thing I want to talk about for the week is probably um I think I talked about this last week, where all of this trying, all of this heartache, the trying, the journey. That's what I wanted to talk about. The journey of I think that's the reason why I like stories so much. Why I like to talk about events as they progress in a line. Because it's never really about the happy ending, is it? It's never really about how you get to the end and where you start. Those two things are important, but what defines those two things? How can you tell where this beginning is and where this end is? It's usually the path that leads the two of them together, and that is the journey. That journey is probably the reason why most people watch different kinds of things, because the journey from start to end, the special events that happen, the differences, the nuances about all these different journeys, about people falling in love, about people learning how to become stronger, people learning to learn, people learning different things about other people. That journey is in itself probably the most important thing that you can get out of the book, out of the out of the song, out of the story itself. And it's very important that you should watch out for these, because the journey itself is probably where you're gonna get the most out of it, and the most enjoyment, the most fun, the most learning, the most everything. The end point is wonderful. It's like that last shot that you get at the very end. It's like, oh, finally it's over. But then what's important really is how you got to that point. How it made you feel all the way through until you got all the way to the end. The third thing I wanted to talk about, and this is probably the one I really don't want to talk too much about it. It's just maybe it bothers me a bit that everybody's talking about the new pope that just got announced a few, like, when this comes out, it'll be 2 days ago, or less than a day ago. Yeah, less than a day ago. And it bothers me so much that people make such a big deal out of the Catholic Pope, because at this point there are so many religions, so many different ideas, that we put so much political power over on just one guy, on just one institution. I was reading newspapers yesterday, and I saw some very disturbing facts. I noticed that a majority of the newspapers showcased pictures of the cardinals talking about who they want to be the next pope, discussing it, and well, not really discussing it, more of just like a grand picture of all the popes, all of the cardinals sitting down, and it really bothered me because on the side, on the bottom, on the second half of your grand, on your grand front page of your newspaper, you showcase that some people died. Really, that's depressing. That's like two people died over here, and that's not a big deal because the new pope's coming to town. What? That's not great. That's not wonderful. That's just downright insulting. I'd rather be learning about those. I'd rather be learning about their circumstances. I'd rather be learning about why those people died. And I'm close. I'm close to crying here, but God, that's more important. That's what we should be looking at. That's a political leader is very important. I'll get that down. But what's more important is learning how to avoid deaths, how to help people. And if you are trying to help people, you shouldn't be looking at the leader. You should be looking at the people. You should be looking at what they need. It's just, oh God. Sometimes I wish, like, I used to be Catholic, and to this day I technically am, and it just bothers me that they have so much say. They shouldn't have that much say, and that's really, it's really dangerous. There's so much that could happen just because of that, and I'm really hoping that the new pope at least like keeps his head above all of this, and that's from what I've heard about the guy. That's what I'm getting, and that's good. That's good, but we're going to have to see when the results come in, and like on his first day in office, what's gonna happen, and that's gonna be great. That's gonna be a wonderful thing to see. Anyway, this has been Extreme Wirehead and Remains of the Day again. I didn't bring a weird drink today. Oh well. Then I guess I propose that cell phone. I propose a toast to all things great and small. This is Wire, and I'll see you next week. Bam.